Right. So immediately after the first set of blessings, on the bottom of page 7, into the top of page 8, there are other two major blessings as pleased to Hashem. So let's look at the words themselves. Somebody wants to read?
Sure.
Correct. Yep.
And may it be your will, Lord our God and God of our fathers, to accustom us to study your Torah and to make us cleave to your commandments. Do not bring us into sin, nor into transgression or iniquity, nor into temptation or scorn. And may the evil inclination not have mastery over us. Keep us far from an evil person and an evil companion. Make us cleave to the good inclination and to good deeds, and compel our inclination to be subservient to you. Grant us this day and every day grace, kindness, and mercy in your eyes, and in the eyes of all who behold us, and bestow bountiful kindness upon us. Blessed are you, Lord, who bestow bountiful kindness upon his people of Israel.
Okay, just as a side note, even in English, we're not allowed to recite a blessing, although it doesn't have Hashem's explicit name in Hebrew, but Hashem's name is Hashem's name. So the word Lord is actually, or God, is actually connotating Hashem's name, and therefore we are not allowed to recite a blessing, even in English, when we don't need it. So, bracha levatala, a blessing in vain. And as well as, and I believe we spoke about this, and this is common knowledge, but sometimes people aren't aware of it. We know that we're not allowed to write Hashem's name in Hebrew. How much more, and as well is in English as well. So we're not allowed to write God, G-O-D, because that's referring to Hashem. So we write G-D or GD. Okay, let's go to the next blessing. Emma, you want to read?
Okay, may it be your will, Lord my God and God of my fathers, to protect me this day and every day from insolent men and from impudence, from a wicked man, from an evil companion, from an evil neighbor, and from an evil occurrence, from an evil eye, from a malicious tongue, from slander, from false testimony, from men's hate, from calumnious charges, from unnatural death, from harsher diseases, and from misfortune, from this destructive adversary, and from a harsh judgment, from an implacable opponent, whether or not he is a member of the covenant, and from the retribution of Gideon.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
So we just skipped the word.
Well, no, over here it's fine. Over here, this is a whole plea. But it's very interesting because in the both of these prayers, there's a very pertinent message that we need to internalize every single morning. In the first paragraph prayer, we're asking Hashem to accustom us to His Torah, to His mitzvahs, to have us cleave unto His commandments, not to bring us to sin, and not to transgression, etc., not to temptation or scorn, and protect us from any evil inclination, and so on and so forth. In the next prayer, we're asking Hashem to protect us from any evil people, a bad neighbor, a bad friend, lashon hara, and so on and so forth. What is the message that we need to internalize? If this is in itself a prayer asking Hashem, innately there is a foundational message that if we internalize every single morning, we'll be able to eliminate a lot of stresses in our lives, which is we don't have control over a large portion of our lives.
That's very true.
Right? We have no control over who speaks about us, who devises, and so on and so forth. In other words, that's Hashem. A lot of the day, unfortunately for people, not all people, but other people, focuses upon things which are beyond our control, and obsesses over these things. Who's speaking over me or about me? Who's looking at this? Who's looking at me? We have no control over that. That's Hashem. What we have to do is entreat Hashem and create a healthy and holy and healthy connection with Hashem that protects us. We know that in Tehillim it says, "V'habotech b'Hashem chesed yisavenu." He who trusts in God, kindness will encompass him. What is this referring to? We discussed in another class that just like a parent, a flesh and blood, shares two types of love with their child. The base love is unconditional love. Then there is a secondary love, which is meant to help navigate and raise the child, which is conditional. Unconditional means no matter what you do, no matter what happens, I'm going to be your parent and you're going to be my child. Whether it's lovingly or the opposite, and so on and so forth, nothing's going to change that. Then there is a conditional love that we share that we express and share with our children, which is focus on raising them. You do right, and you get the reward. If not, you'll get a consequence. Not because something is wrong with you, but something needs to be better with you. This is the way we raise you. And that's a healthy and holy love. That's a healthy and holy love, a holy and healthy love. However, the Tehillim says, "V'habotech b'Hashem chesed." He who trusts in Hashem, kindness will encompass him. What is it referring to? The one who has trust in God, kindness, God's love, encompassing love, will encompass him. What does that mean? This is what this verse is referring to, is that just like we share a relationship and express our love to our children, conditional, unconditional, so too does God. Right before we went out of Egypt, Parshat Bo, Hashem deems us B'nai B'chori Israel. You're my firstborn Israel. You're my firstborn child. We learned in the Tanya class, a firstborn child gets the essence from the parents. For that reason, the younger children have to, as per our sage's explanation of the pasuk of the commandment in the pasuk, kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, you should honor your father and your mother. The word et is a connecting word. It really has no translation in Hebrew. However, every et in the Torah is our sages extrapolate mounds and mounds of explanation. So, for example, kabed et avicha ve'imecha, I could have just said kabed et avicha ve'imecha, and your mother. And that's how we translate in English, because et really has no translation to it. However, our sages explains, why then we need this extra et? Why not just ve? Et laharbot et ha'ach hagadol. That et is there to intimate the older sibling. That we are responsible to honor our father and our mother, but also our older sibling. Why? Because the oldest sibling receives directly from the parents, and all the energy to the children is funneled through this oldest sibling.
Could you have that again?
Yeah. We are commanded to honor both father and mother, right?
Right, yes, that part.
But the word et in the grammar really has no translation. The Torah could have just as well written, honor your father and mother, ve'imecha. That's what it meant, your father and your mother. Why did Hashem use the word et? In order to imply that there has to be honor and respect given to the oldest sibling, because the oldest sibling receives directly from the parents. And to a certain measure, the energy from the parents is now funneled through the oldest sibling. Hashem called us B'ni B'chori Israel, my firstborn Israel. When did he call us that? Not when we received the Torah. Not when we said Na'aseh v'nishma, we'll adhere, and then we'll listen, and then we'll ask questions. Not when we were in the pristine level prior to Matan Torah, nor after we received the Torah. When did Hashem call us his firstborn? While we were in the lowest abyss in Egypt. In the 49th gate of depravity of Tumah. While we were so assimilated that 80% vied to stay in Egypt. That's when Hashem expressed his unconditional love to us. How many psukim we have that demonstrates it? B'ni B'chori Yisrael, Banim atam Hashem Elokechem, you're Hashem's children, etc., etc. Why do we need to know this? Because just like a parent shares a relationship with their child, an unconditional and conditional relationship with their child, the base is unconditional, but in order to raise a child, the parent needs to afford a conditional relationship. For this reason, with this logic, when David HaMelech says, "V'avatech b'Hashem chesed v'enu," he who trusts Hashem, kindness will encompass him. What does that mean? Having trust in Hashem elicits Hashem's unconditional kindness to us. In other words, and then we learned in our Think Good, Will Be Good class, as essence of trust, we learned that through bitachon, through trust in Hashem, not faith in Hashem, but specifically through trust in Hashem, we receive Hashem's unconditional love. Which means that even if a person deserved, God forbid, the opposite of a blessing, or did not merit a blessing, when one has trust in Hashem, they tap into unconditional, and Hashem blesses them in an open and revealed, overt good manner. When we recognize, what is trust? What is the concept of trust? Trust is not faith. Trust is, as Rabbeinu Bachya in Chovat HaLevavot, in the duties of the heart, in the obligation of the heart, explains, trust means to know that being that Hashem is the ultimate good, and all He wants to is to bless you with good. But we know that there's revealed good and unrevealed good, as we spoke about in previous classes. Nevertheless, Hashem will in fact bless you with revealed good, even if you don't deserve it. That trust opens up Hashem's unconditional kindness to us. That even if a person needed to go through something for their own benefit, that trust maneuvers Hashem's divine energy to be complicit with the natural laws that He created and reveal goodness in a revealed and seen manner. Why? Because, as we learned in the Tanya class, there are two types of good. There is revealed good, as we understand it, that our eyes could behold, our hearts could feel, our brains could understand, and so on and so forth. In other words, good that we as human beings understand is good. And then there's a higher good. It is higher because it emanates from Hashem's intellect, not from Hashem's emotions. And intellect is not visible. When someone is emotional, you could see their hands flail, they become excitable, they smile, they grimace, but you could see it. When somebody goes deep into intellect, they become aloof from the world. They're completely still, they're quiet, you don't see anything.
Could you cover the intellect good again?
Yeah. There is... The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that there are two types of good.
Yeah.
There's a good that emanates from what's called the revealed world. Revealed worlds. Olam Dizgaya. Olam Dizgaya, the revealed world. What is this referring to? To Hashem's attributes. Chesed, Gvura, and so on and so forth. And that we can relate to as human beings.
We see it.
We feel it and so on and so forth. But then there's a good that emanates from Hashem's intellect. His intellectual attributes. Chochmah, Bin, and Dat. But unlike the emotions, intellect is not something that is revealed on an overt level. Emotions are revealed on an overt level. Intellect, when somebody goes deep into their thoughts, they become aloof from the world. They become very quiet. You could speak to them, and if they're so engrossed in thought, they might not even hear you. They might be oblivious to what's happening around them. However, the kindness that emanates from Hashem's hidden world, from Hashem's intellect world, is a much more intense kind. But in the way that it streams into this world, because it's difficult to relate to it, it presents itself as something negative. But in fact, it emanates from an exponentially higher level of goodness. The example that we gave was a 5-year-old birthday party. 5-year-old is waiting for his present from his parents. And he wanted, let's just say, some tchotchke, some toy, whatever it is. And the parents come to the child and says, guess what? We have the best gift for you. He says, Freedom, I was waiting for such a long time. And it's an envelope. It's not, doesn't shake. There's no contour to it. It's an envelope. He opens it up. What is it? It's a savings bond that's going to mature over 30 years. So by the time he gets married and settles down, he has a nice down payment for his house. The child looks at the envelope, looks at the parents, and starts crying, starts weeping. He says, what is this? I didn't want paper for my birthday. I wanted a toy. He says, no, you try to explain to the child, this is better than a toy. What's this toy? This toy you're going to play with in a week, in a month, is going to break, you're going to lose it, and it's going to be obsolete. In 5 years, you're not going to care about it. This is an investment in your entire life. Can the child relate to that? No, the child thinks that they're evil parents. They don't get them. But in fact, this envelope, this present, represents a higher level of good. It's just that the child doesn't have the mental, nor currently the emotional capacity to relate to this gift as a gift. He sees this as something to be scorned. But the fact is, this is a higher level good. It's just the child doesn't have the capacity to internalize that. It's beyond the child's ability to internalize that. So too, when Hashem streams kindness into this world, there are two types of kindness. There's the overt kindness that we can connect to as human beings. And then there's a higher level of kindness, because after all, Hashem is the ultimate good. And it's the nature of benevolence to bestow benevolence. Hateva hatov la'ativa, says the Midrash. Hashem is the ultimate good. He doesn't lose control. Everything that happens in this world has to be good.
I know, but even when it's good, but we don't think it's good, but it's good in the long run.
Right, it's good for the short, but that's a,
how do we accept something
that's faith. And faith means, what is faith? On the most raw level, faith means to qualify Hashem as being truth, the ultimate truth, even though he makes absolutely no sense. If it made sense, intellectual or emotional sense, you wouldn't need faith. You have logic, you have emotions. Seeing is not believing. If you're seeing, you don't have to believe anything. Seeing is seeing. Having faith means I can't see, there's no way for me to prove it. And nevertheless, it's a truth. Same thing, in order to connect to that goodness, it comes from faith. Trust, on the other hand, is very different. Trust is to know that everything will work out in a revealed and seen manner. Why? Because God could do anything He wants. He could draw down the same intense goodness in the way that we could actually see it. Or He could bring the blessing into that limited scope of the toy and enrich us for the rest of our life. He could do whatever He wants. Trust is the pipeline, the channel that draws down this the Hashem's love in a manifest, open way from the highest of sources. And because it's reached from such a high level, that even if the person doesn't conditionally meet the requirements to receive it, but this love emanates from a place where overt good and the opposite doesn't occupy any place. It doesn't matter what the person did or didn't do. It doesn't make a difference. The person is, being that the trust is there, Hashem is going to, and it's a service. It's work. It's work. It's to be able to refine your thinking process. To be able to not be taken aback and not be upset, not get how things going to work out and what's going to happen. God's going to take care of it. I know, but that's not trust anymore. That's faith and post-processing faith. Rather, it's going to be good. What's the question? Where's the question? This means the word stark.
So even though you trust that everything will work out, don't you have to work toward?
You got to make a vessel. Yes, you got to make a vessel because Hashem wants to make you to make the vessel. You don't have to perfect that vessel. Hashem wants you to make a vessel for His blessing because that's His desire that all of His blessing should come down into the natural world in a natural manner. Mm-hmm. As the Torah says, Hashem will bless you in everything you'll do. Hashem will bless you, but He wants you to do. But at the same time, because Hashem itashi, it's a blessing of Hashem that makes one wealthy. In that vein, a person can have complete and utter trust that everything's going to work out. And that's the word stark in Yiddish, means strong. And the Hasidic Pirush to this, and the Hasidic Pirush, the Hasidic explanation of the word stark means no plan A, no plan B, just the way it's going to be. I don't care if I have to take this direction or this direction, it's going to happen. The only matter is just going through the motions at this point.
Wait, so is there free will or not free will?
This is different. This is a completely different question. Yes, there's free will, but this is a completely different question. It's a completely different topic. Of course, there's free will.
So if you just wait and Hashem,
who said you got to wait?
There?
No, you don't have to. It's not a wait. You got to make the choice to consciously trust Him. You got to make the choice to consciously take practical steps to draw this blessing, knowing that all the blessings are going to materialize.
Okay. See, I very much believe in this concept, in this theory. I very much believe in it.
That's good, because you're Jewish, so it works out just fine. But that's the point. Knowing that your trust is able to draw down Hashem's blessing in an overt manner really applies over here. We are entreating Hashem to protect us from negativity, to bless us with with opportunities for goodness, holiness, and so on and so forth, and to protect us from negative settings. But that means that we are aware that our entire fate is in Hashem's hands. And there are certain things that we have control over, and there are certain things that we don't have control over. There's no need to obsess over things that we have no control over. So imagine how much of our days are spent, I can't believe he said this and he says it, and this one's going to look at me this way and this. You have no control of that. That's Hashem. That's not Hashem. We've got to make the vessel, but we know that the vessel is populated by Hashem's energy through our trust, through our connection to Him, through our Torah and mitzvot, through our davening. And by the way, Chassidus explains any blessings that begins with the words Yehi Ratzon Milfanecha. Maybe your will be, or maybe your will, Hashem, my God, and so on and so forth. What does that mean? You break it down, Yehi Ratzon. What does that mean? May it be your will. It means that maybe currently this is not your will. We have the ability, as it were, to create a novel desire within Hashem. A novel will. That maybe Hashem, as it were, wanted something, but through our prayers we're able to augment and change that into a new will and reveal something new.
How do we do that?
Davening. That's davening. Interestingly, and maybe we'll get to this in about 2 weeks, but when it comes to Shidduchim, every neshama is split into two. Plagufa, half of a body, half of soul. And they descend into this world as two halves. And they are organically one. However, and this is one of the reasons you don't wait for a shidduch. In other words, if an opportunity came to you, or you have the opportunity to move forward, you don't wait. You know why? Because, as our sages explains, someone else might see your shidduch and pray for them. And change the course. At least for a little bit. Means that they'll get married and the person will lose out. However, Hashem has a way to course correct. It's going to this one is eventually going to divorce, or one is, God forbid, going to predecease the other one. Eventually, you'll get back together. This lifetime, next lifetime. In other words, if something is so organic as two halves of one soul could be, as it were, swayed by entreating God, Yehi Ratzon may be will, then we have the power to do this in every single shidduch. Shidduch is not just between a husband and a wife. It's also between a person and their career. Because the person is like the husband, the career, the work is like the wife. With health matters. With moving to different places. And so on and so forth. So knowing that we have that kind of power with Hashem, He afforded us that. It's not that we somehow strategize and we decide to build a Tower of Babel, God forbid, and decide to escape Hashem's fate. But this is the mechanics that Hashem endowed us with as partners to Him, as co-creators with Him. He affords us this ability. And that's why we have to be so mindful of these words as we sing in them in the morning. They're not just admitting, yes, this is the way it is, but it's a plea. As we said, every prayer has two dimensions. On one hand, it is an acknowledgement, or it's praising. On the other hand, it's also entreating. It's also asking. It's affirming, it's entreating, it's an acknowledgement, it's praising, but it's all eliciting. And we have to be very mindful of these words. It's so important. How many times, I don't know, if you say that, once you know these prayers by heart, it's so easy just to wash your hands on it, and so on and so forth, and just say their prayers while you're getting ready for the morning. But if we spend just all it takes about in Hebrew and English, it takes a few minutes. But again, as we said already several times throughout this course, these prayers and this segment of our morning is the rudder of the day. It's the engine that steers the entire day. We ought to be mindful with it. We ought to look at the words and really ask Hashem for protection. He who trusts Hashem, kindness will encompass him like a force field, or protect him from any negative forces. Even if, God forbid, this person needed to go through it or deserved to go through it, whatever it is, this trust, this unconditional kindness will create a force field which protect the person. And it's so important. We have to be mindful of these words. And as well as being that this sets a tone throughout the day, if we encounter something which is, God forbid, unpleasant, instead of reacting to the externality of it, first and foremost, have a conversation with God. Knowing that everything is His. And we say in Slichot, HaNeshama malach v'aguf malach. Chusana ala malach. The neshama is yours, the soul is yours, and your body, and the body is your handiwork. Have compassion, mercy upon your handiwork. In other words, you're in Hashem's hands. So, to get excited about externalities, for what? Especially, as we learned from the Baal Shem Tov, if God forbid, in Shemaim they decided that they want to mete out a consequence towards a person, the natural born trust, the trust that we have is like a force field, that consequence cannot be meted out. So, in Shemaim, they realize that they have to crack through this force field. They will put the person in a situation where their trust might be shaky. Once a person's trust is shaky, that force field is opened up, and now whatever needs to come in will come in. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Look like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this now. I don't know, this is going to be too much, or this, what's this, what's going to happen? That's it. That's what do you mean?
Yeah.
You have to deal with it? Isn't God your protector? Hashem is amongst my helper. I should not fear. Hashem li v'lo ira. Hashem is for me is mine. I should not fear. What are you afraid of? Baruch Hashem, it's not too hard to have trust in our generation, because we, each and every one of us, have actual empirical evidence. We lived life long enough. We've been through dire straits, difficult times, and we made it. We weren't homeless. Hashem didn't starve us. We had difficulties rearing our children, and nevertheless, things work out. In other words, Hashem never abandoned you, even when He had the reason to. And He never did. Hashem continuously blesses us with and affords us conscious goodness that we have enough empirical evidence throughout our lives to see, why should I be afraid? Everything will work out. Everything will be fine. Nothing to be scared of. But trust not only dispels any fear, trust elicits the most intense blessings beyond the world, otherworldly blessings, and draws it down in a revealing manner. And in these words, we're qualifying that. We're just giving this expression. Let's move on to page 46. We're going to start now the blessings of the Torah.